Abraham is called the father of the faith. Today, we're looking at Abraham's greatest act of faith, the sacrificing of his son Isaac. Hebrews 11:19 says, Abraham believed that God could bring Isaac back from the dead. That means that no matter what happened, Abraham believed God could still turn it around. Our problem is we become too reasonable. We reason ourselves out of faith. We need to use our minds to calculate that God is faithful and that all things are possible with God. We must stop concluding that God is not willing to do what we desire. Mark 11:24 says, Therefore I say unto you, what things soever you desire when you pray, believe that you receive them, and you shall have them. Abraham concluded that even if God allowed him to kill Isaac, God was able to raise him from the dead. So even death was not the end of the promise. The King James Version said Abraham was accounting that God was able to raise Isaac up, even from the dead. That word accounting means he calculated it. He settled it in his mind. Abraham ran the numbers of faith and came to one unshakable conclusion. God cannot lie. So God must have a way. God must have a plan. Think about how radical this is. Up to that point in Scripture, no recorded human resurrection had happened. No testimony to quote. No historical example to apply. Yet he still believed God could do what he had never seen before. That's mature faith. Immature faith believes only what it has seen or heard. Mature faith believes what God said. We need to stay on the faith side of the line. We should not consider the doubt side of the line at all. All of our energy should be directed in line with faith. We should concentrate on our obedience. There's nothing wrong with calculating, but our calculation must take the limits off of God. In Genesis 22, it shows us that Abraham rising early in the morning to obey, no delay, no argument, no emotional meltdown. Why? Because in Abraham's mind, one way or another, Isaac was already coming back. Here's the winning principle. When God makes you a promise, faith locks onto the promise, not the process. The process is just a test. God had already told Abraham in Genesis 21:12, in Isaac shall your seed be called. Abraham knew something powerful. If Isaac is the promised seed, then Isaac cannot permanently die. So even when the command looked contradictory, Abraham trusted the covenant more than the circumstances. This is where many believers miss it. We panic during the process instead of focusing on the promise. Abraham did the opposite. He trusted the promise so deeply that he walked straight through a process that looked like a loss. knowing God had resurrection power, if necessary. At the very moment Abraham lifted the knife, God stopped him and provided the ram. The miracle showed up after he moved in faith and obedience. Here's the truth. Faith does not wait for evidence. Faith moves, watch this, based on God's character. Abraham's confidence was not in what he saw. His confidence was in who God is. And that's the question for every believer that's listening to me today. What have you concluded about God? Because your life will move in the direction of your conclusion. If you conclude God is faithful, you will move. If you conclude God is able, you will act. If you conclude God keeps his word, then you'll obey even when it makes no natural sense. This week, stop rehearsing the problem and start calculating the promise. When the situation looks impossible, say, God is able, according to Ephesians 3:20. God cannot lie, according to Titus 1:2. God watches over his word to perform it, according to Jeremiah 1:12. When I was facing open heart surgery, I believed that God said, let them do it. So I submitted myself and went under the knife, actually under the saw. I confessed I would not die, but live. Now I'm trusting God with my recovery. Trust God, then take the step of obedience that matches what God said. You know why? Because the same God that Abraham trusted can still do anything today. It's not too late until you say it is. Put all the unbelievers out and focus on believing. Abraham believed that even if Isaac died, God would raise him up. Are we willing to believe that God can, no matter what? Remember, God is able. God cannot lie. And God watches over his word to perform it. If this message helped you, like and subscribe. It's a sin not to win.